Shri Apurva Swamiji, Dr. Sachin Parikh, and friends. It's always a great pleasure for me to be with you at VVP because VVP is known to all of us as one of the better colleges in GTU. I've been asked to speak about how we can create the best engineering college in India and probably the world. So before I talk about that, let me give you some data. Engineering colleges, engineering institutions in Asia was made. They gave a list of 10 best engineering institutions in Asia. Not one of them was from India. When they gave the list of 50 best institutions, 50 best engineering institutions of the world, we did not have any from India. We had some IITs in the list from 51 to 100, but in the first 50 we could not place a single engineering college from India. That is the kind of state we have. So we are starting off from a very low point and we want to create one of the best engineering colleges over here. Before I tell you about what I think can be done, I would tell you one thing. We can do it in 10 years. If you decide today that VVP is to be one of the topmost institutions for imparting engineering education, we can do it in 10 years. It will require efforts. It will not be done easily. Swamiji talked about Nokia and Samsung. I can tell you a little bit of history. In 90s, except Japan and US, nobody knew how to make good ICs. That was in early 90s. Samsung had started. I visited in 93 the University of Seoul and the University of Chulalongkorn. Chulalongkorn is in Thailand, in Bangkok, and the University of Seoul is in South Africa. In Thailand, France had donated a laboratory for making ICs. We did not have that kind of lab in any IIT. And the Thais were working on it to develop IC technology. In Seoul, at the University of Seoul, Samsung, which was just coming up, they had just started making very simple ICs at that time. But then they donated a whole lab for making ICs to University of Seoul. And you can see the difference today. In 2013, Thailand is nowhere. Samsung is one of the leading companies which is challenging Apple in all its product areas. The difference is only this. In Thailand, the university worked alone. In Seoul, Samsung worked along with the university. And when the industry and the university work together, then you can achieve excellence. That was the difference which I saw in 93. And of course, the difference in 2013 is before all of us. So, let's talk about the characteristics of a great engineering college. VVP is a good engineering college, there is no doubt about it. But it's not one of the best in the world. It's not a great engineering institution in which we can take pride. So how to make that particular institution is the question. When I joined as a director of a school at a university in Canada, on the very first day in the afternoon, I had some problems which I wanted to allocate to my secretaries. So I called one of the secretaries and gave her some work to do. After 2 days, I recollected that I have given this work and I didn't know whether it has been done or not. So I called the secretary, I asked her. Her name was Gloria Mensa, and she said, "Sir, the work has been done as you had asked me to do." And then she said, "Sir, if you don't mind, I would like to say one thing." She said, "When you have given the work to me, please have confidence in me. If I am not able to do it, I will come back to you. Otherwise, you don't have to follow it up." They don't like that you should follow it up with anyone. If you follow it up, that means you don't have a confidence in the person. Once you have allocated the work, it will be done. And this secretary was only a 12th standard pass, school pass girl. She was not having any university education. But then she was working in the university as what we call as a clerk and what they call over there as secretaries. The difference is in discipline. If we all are disciplined, the teachers, the staff, the students, then only you can make a great institution. If you do not have discipline, you cannot make a great institution. So the teachers will have to be on time for the class. The teachers will have to understand what they are supposed to do in the laboratory and the classes. The students will have to be disciplined. And of course, the staff also has got to be disciplined. Only then things go on. In institutions over there, everything is very clean. You will not find dirt anywhere. Not in the washrooms, not in the pathways, not on the road. They are all very clean. And how do they do it? Usually the cleaning is done after 10 p.m. because the classes go on from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. At 10 p.m. the work of the cleaners starts. They begin the work at 10 and finish somewhere after midnight. Some of them are available during the day if anything happens to clean up the whole thing. But otherwise the cleaners come at night. They clean up, do the job. Once in Seoul, I was delayed in coming from a hotel to the university guest house. And on the way I found all the railway stations were closed on one side because they were trying to clean them. At 12 o'clock at midnight, the cleaning of the railway station started. So they had of course marked it out very clearly that you should not go to this path or this way. What I am trying to say is everyone is trying to do his duty in such a way that the institution works. It works well. Well, you could have cleaned it during the day also instead. It doesn't matter. But then there will be a little bit of distraction in the working of the institution. That is not required. In every small way, the institution has got to work in the best possible way. And even the smallest thing which can be done to improve the working of the institution is done. It may lead to a little bit of inconvenience, but they accept it. That is the difference between how they have been able to create great institutions and how we have failed to do so. Now, if you look at the issue of discipline, as I go on giving the example, at MIT, students from about 200 different countries come. They come from all parts of the world, from places which are across the globe. But if they say that in 2013 the classes are to begin on 8th of September, and if they say that the classes are to go on up to 9th of December 2013, students from around the world will reach there by 8 a.m. on 8th of September. They will not say, well, I am coming from Russia, so I should be allowed 2 days late. They will come. They know they have to be there at 8 a.m. and they reach there at 8 a.m. on 8th of September. If the classes are to go on up to 9th of December, and if the exams are to start on 12th, then the classes will go on up to 10 p.m. on 9th of December. They will not say, well, I have exams on 12th. How can I be there in the last class? It never happens. So that is what the discipline is. You don't give up a class, you don't give up a lab, you don't give up a workshop for any reason. You have to attend because, well, you are in a great institution. So therefore, you cannot afford to miss. That is what is called discipline. It has to come from inside. It cannot be imposed. If the principal wants to stand there outside the gate and say, well, I will not allow anyone to come in after 8 a.m., that is a sign of a bad institution. It's not a sign of a great institution. If somebody has to go on imposing fines on you, if somebody has to continuously police your working, then that institution is not going to survive. Of course, some policing is required. You have to handle people who are really not good. You can ask them to leave the institution. But then, if continuously, every day from morning till evening, you are required to control the working of students and teachers and staff, then such an institution cannot become a great institution. So that is the first thing that is required. The second thing which is required is the best of learning. Now this Wi-Fi that has been provided to you is one of the tools. All these tools are required and we must try to use the best of tools for learning. But learning comes not from tools, it comes from what you do. Therefore, today there is an understanding in the West. They say they cannot afford that only 20% of the class should be good. You see, in the earlier days, the idea was a teacher will teach the class, there will be some learning process, and ultimately the whole class will follow a bell curve. I hope you remember that statistical bell curve. 20% of the class will be, of course, doing very well. Another 60% will be doing reasonably well. And of course, 20% will not be able to do anything. They would not have learned much. So that was the system. Now, the universities of the West have decided that that is no good. So they have come to the idea of what is called active learning. They say our country cannot continue to be rich if all our engineers are not very good. We cannot afford that only 20% of engineers should be good. And therefore, they have started the process of active learning. We started this particular process at GTU. We call this particular project as active learning and creating excitement in the classrooms, laboratories and workshops. In short, we call it as ALCE project. This project is designed to rejuvenate the teaching process with the help of the students and the teachers and to take it to the level where the rest of the world is trying to go. This is a new idea in the West and we want to lead. Let VVP lead the world. If you take the lead today, I assure you, in 5 years the whole world will know that VBP is a great institution. How can you do it? How will the rest of the world know? What you can do is, in every class, let's say you have 60 students. 6 students can take a chapter and work with the teacher to develop the teaching material for that particular chapter. The teaching material should be so interesting that however hard you may try, you will not be able to go to sleep. When the teacher teaches, it should be so interesting, it should bring out so good ideas every day that you will not be able to sleep in the class. Every 10 minutes there should be a picture, there should be an animation, there should be a video clip to explain what you are doing. All engineering is practical things. Engineering is not theory. So whatever theory we are teaching relates to something practical. And therefore you can find out what the use of that particular equation, that particular derivation is, and talk about it. The most boring thing in electrical engineering is said to be Maxwell's equations. You know, those of you who have studied would have learned the derivation of those simultaneous differential equations and probably may have mugged them up and passed the exam. But those are equations which were developed by a man in 1850s when there was no radio, no radar, no signal being sent out by human beings into the atmosphere. He developed the theory and he said, you can send out signals into the atmosphere, and so you can have something which we call today as radio or a television or a radar or what you are now calling as Wi-Fi in your college. He didn't know that these things will come up. He was a mathematician and physicist. He just sat down with his pencil and paper, developed some equations and showed that it is possible. Each one of those equations has been used. They have been used by power engineers, they have been used by electronic engineers, they have been used by defense people. And there is not one of those equations which is not fully utilized by us. How can you make those equations boring? We have managed to do it, but they are not boring at all because they have in them ideas which have changed the whole of the world. But we teach them in such a way that it is a boring class. So what I suggest is, let's start preparing material. Now this process has been started by all the top institutions of the world. They have formed groups and they are preparing material and putting it on the web. They call it as open school, open source material. They say that they are a university. MIT, Stanford, they think they are universities of the world. They have to teach everyone. They have to not only teach their own students. So they are preparing course material and putting it on the web for free use by anyone. And why are they doing it? They are doing it to improve their reputation. The whole world should use the material and then say, yes, MIT is great. Stanford is one of the best institutions. That's what they want. Because when an institution's reputation improves, its students get a higher salary. If you pass from Stanford, well, you will get a salary which will be very high. If you pass from an ordinary institution, naturally you will have a very low salary. So the reputation gets translated immediately into high salaries for the students. If VVP becomes in 5 years one of the topmost institutions, you will find that salaries of the students who are coming out at that time will be high, but even the older students will start getting the benefit. Once they say they are from VVP, well, they will get the benefit. So what I suggest is, prepare the course material and put it on the web. GTU has prepared a website where you can put such a material. Your material with the names of the teacher, names of the students, names of the colleges. So if it is from VVP, we will put the name VVP. So let the whole world see and use. There was a financial wizard from Hyderabad. He went to United States, earned a lot of money in the stock market, and then gave up the job and started teaching his brother's son, who was living at a distance. So therefore he would prepare the course material, put it on the web and ask him to study, talk to him telephonically. And ultimately all this material that he put on the web came to be known as Khan's Academy. It is for teaching school material. This material was so good, people all over the world started using it. In fact, Bill Gates used it to teach his own children, because everyone has to teach, his children who go to the school. So he used the material in Khan's Academy. It was available free. It is just on the web, anyone can download it and use it. He took the material and started using. And today, Khan's Academy is so well known, and he has not done any advertisement. He's just put the material on the web. But it is good, a good material. Today, he draws a salary of about $150,000 per year from Khan's Academy, from donations which parents gave after using the material. Actually, he does not charge anything. You can use the material here. But parents who use the material are so grateful, they would like to donate something, and he has made a provision that you can donate to Khan's Academy. And those donations are so good that he is able to get a salary of about $100,000 to $150,000 every year for doing just this job, preparing material for school and putting on the web. What I am suggesting is, MIT has about 10,000 students and teachers in all. GTU has about 400,000 students. They have about 1,000 teachers in all. We have about 17,000 teachers. And I'm only talking about preparing the material of what you are studying. Because whatever you are studying is being studied by the engineers all over the world. So, it's not some new research that I'm talking about. It's just what you are studying. Study it well, understand it well, prepare material which goes on the web. And it should be such that it is very good and you can change it and improve it year after year. And the result will be, your college will be known all over the world. And people will know that you are doing great work. And while you are preparing one chapter, you are not losing anything. Because after all, you will understand that chapter very well. And if your class prepares one chapter at every group of your class prepares one chapter each, all of you will have good material to study. In education at university level, it's not really the teacher who teaches. It's you who learn, and the teacher also learns with you. If you are going to have a classroom where the teacher is going to convey the material to you, that is not the classroom of 21st century. In the 21st century, for collecting the material, you don't have to go to the class. There are other sources available which may be better. The class is a place for discussion, for learning from each other. The class is a place where material should not be transferred. If at all you want to give the material, put it on the web and the students will take it down from there. There is no reason for using up 1 hour in the class to transfer the material from the teacher to the student. The class should become a more interesting place, a more exciting place. So that is what we want you to do. To convert your classes and laboratories and workshops into interesting places where you learn something new every day. If you go to a lab for 3 hours and you have not learned anything, you have wasted time. We are not asking you to learn how to read a meter. We are not asking you to learn how to draw a graph. Of course, those things are required, but they are simple things. So you don't have to spend 4 years here drawing graphs and learning how to read a meter. The laboratory has to be something much more interesting. It has to be a voyage of discovery every week, every day. Then it is an interesting laboratory. So the important thing is learning in the classrooms, in the laboratories and workshops. Incidentally, on 23rd of April, a few days back, GTU got an award for active learning. This is a process which we have just begun. And we got an award because nobody else is doing it in India. You see, we have just started working on 8 subjects, 4 of degree engineering and 4 of diploma engineering. GTU deals with 1200 subjects. So we have just begun doing work for 8 subjects out of 1200 and we got a national award because nobody else is doing it. So therefore, please start working in this area. It will help your institution come up. The next thing is, as Swamiji said, we must update our teaching. We must update our learning process. How do you do it? And how do you judge whether you are doing this thing? The method is that every teacher has got to work at frontiers of technology. Now, the question that will be asked is, well, I will say, I am teaching and I know, therefore I am at the frontiers of technology. How will we judge? How will you keep a teacher continuously on his toes? There is a well-known method which is used everywhere in the world. The method is every professor in any good university is supposed to apply and get research grants. A few months before I was to come to India, I received a mail from one of the senior professors. This particular professor was the one who had started the area of artificial intelligence in our university. And he had been working in that area for quite some time. Therefore, he was very well known. He was doing good research and he was very well known. But every 3 years or 5 years, you have to apply for new research grants. So he applied for research grants and at that time he must have been busy. He may not have written the application very well. When the application is received by bodies which give the research grant, they remove the name and then send it anonymously for review by other experts. And other experts said, well, this application is no good. He lost the research grant. He wrote to me, I'm very sorry, I have lost the research grant. I will not be able to take masters and PhD students now because I don't have the grant. So you can give me a little bit of more of undergrad load. You see there, you cannot be a master's or PhD student unless the university has some money to give you. A master's and PhD student is not supposed to be paying a high fee. He is supposed to be getting from the university some money as scholarship. And that money comes not from the university truly, it comes from research grants of the professors. In our country, the system is different. You don't really get the money from the professor. You have to go through the JRF process and the UGC or AICTE, they give you the grants. But anyway, over there it is the responsibility of the professor. Over here, that responsibility is not there. But then also the professors can get the research grants so that they can purchase equipment, small things, for continuing their research. If every professor at VVP starts having a research grant, that will be a sign that they are working and they are entirely up to date. And this is something which can be done. Thapar Institute of Technology, that is a university, private university in Patiala, they have been able to have this particular situation. Every professor in Copper has got a research grant. Now, why we cannot do it is a question. Of course, one reason can be we have too much of load. If we appoint less number of teachers than we require, then we will have to load, the existing teachers. If you go on loading the existing teachers too much, they will not have time to do research. Then you have to give them some facilities for doing research before they really get the grants from outside bodies. But that is what is required. So the things which are required are, as I said, discipline, active learning, and keeping the professors entirely up to date. And a measure of that is whether they have a research grant continuously with them or not. And the last thing that is required is industry connection. As I said at the very beginning, like there was a connection between Samsung and University of Seoul. We require an industry connection. And this industry connection we do not have in India. The reason is all our industry is based upon borrowed technology. We have not developed anything which the rest of the world uses. Indians in America may have developed something which the rest of the world is using, but Indians in India have not done so. And therefore, the universities will have to make major efforts to bring the industry to them. Because the industry has not benefited yesterday, so they will not come today to us. But if we bring them to us, they will benefit tomorrow. So that is something which the industry has to understand, and we have to work hard for that. Now, it is not really that our environment is no good. One thing I can tell you, God had created India for human beings. For thousands of years, India had a good population. For thousands of years, there were not many human beings in North America. Because the North American environment is not really fit as it is for human beings. It has been made fit for human beings by technology, by hard work. So today it is a good place to live. But actually, God has made India as the place to live. There are a few places which God has created like that. India, the Mediterranean Sea, some area in China, some area in South America. They were the places where there was some population for thousands of years, because those were the environments where human beings could live and prosper, where they could develop new technology. That's why India developed new technologies. South America, Mayans developed new technology. Others did not. So we have an environment where good research, good development can take place. The only thing is we have destroyed our own discipline. We have spoiled our own environment. We have to recreate it. Once we start recreating it, you will find, you will improve India. You will see India will become a great place to live. You will see that there will be no poverty here. You will see that people will love to come here. When the first ambassador from Queen Elizabeth I came to Agra, he said, London looks like a village before Agra. He said, there is no beggar in this country. He did not see a beggar as he traveled all the way to Agra. He saw a country which was rich. He saw a country which was educated. And that is the kind of country we have to build again. So please do not believe that it is only the West which can create great universities and great engineering colleges. We can do so if we really want to do so. So therefore, if we have to talk about mantras for creating a great engineering college, there are only 4. Good discipline, active learning, good research, and a close connectivity with the industry. The university is trying for close connectivity with the industry again. And in fact, at the beginning of this month, Again, ASSOCHAM, which is an association of industries, a chamber of commerce, they recognized GTU and gave us the award for the best industry-university connectivity. We have created a system, but you have to take benefit of it. You have to see that it is intensively used. Now, let's see that we start doing these things. Let's see that we have discipline in this college. Let's see that we develop active learning here. Let's see that we have industrial connectivity. Please do not depend upon your principal for industrial connectivity. We have asked that in every college there should be an Odisha club. In every Odisha club there are supposed to be members from every department, every branch. Like for example, mechanical engineering branch will have 4 students, first year, second year, third year, fourth year, 4 students and a teacher in the Odisha club. It is the duty of these 5 people, the 4 students and teachers, to see that you bring mechanical engineers to your department. It's not the duty of the principal. So if you do not have an industrial connectivity, it is the students and the single teacher who is there as the coordinator who are responsible for not doing their job. So each one of us has to do our job, then the institution will become great. GTU is not going to become a great university because its vice chancellor works. This college is not going to become a great engineering college because only Dr. Sachin Parikh works hard. It's going to become a great college when all of you work hard. You can do it. I hope you should do it.